Welcome to This is 50! Happy Snowmageddon, everybody. Hope you're safe out there. This amazing snowstorm. It is pretty. I'm glad I don't have to go anywhere. And while you're here, we've got a lot for you to see. This week, we've got a very special segment. Our first interview of the new podcast, talking about thresholds with my friend Shanda Sugg. You're going to learn a lot about her today. We're going to walk with her. We're going to learn from her. We're going to experience what it is to be in the company of two very forward, energy forward people. She and I are a lot alike in many ways, which people would not probably guess. And we're going to talk about that among many, many other things, including the transition that she's making away from being a therapist into something else that she hasn't even quite defined yet. And we're going to talk about all of that and more. And I'm glad you're here to do it. And don't forget, next week, we're going to talk about Atomic Habits. That's our book club book. So make sure you've got that read and then get ready to start the Happiness Project for February. Very excited about all the things book club related. But today, I'm excited to have Shanda Sugg walk us through it.
Standing on the threshold now.
You've made some big changes, which is kind of why I wanted to talk to you, because I'm looking for people who have either made a transition or have walked through a threshold or across the threshold. Yeah. And I'd like to hear more about what that looks like, because I know you because you were one of my students back in the day as a therapy student, a counseling student, and you've sort of transitioned to something different. Just tell me about that journey and what that looks like for you.
Yeah, well, the journey, I will say this transitional journey probably began time-wise the beginning of last year, and had been mounting. And for me and my really big and significant life changes, there's always one of those, what you would call the straw that broke the camel back moments, where I can look and say so many other things are problematic about this, but this one little thing drives me to a change. And what it was it was about to be coming up time for me to renew my counseling license. And the thought of doing continuing education pissed me off. It just, and so because I've learned to surrender, the ongoing practice of surrendering to the river of myself, instead of historically having a reaction and then going, "Ooh, that does not fit our hero or victim narrative, so we have to transmute that into something else." I've learned and am deeply increasing my practice of sitting with my rage. And so I followed my anger. Why am I so I knew about this when I got here. It's a
because you're not anti-learning, right? It's not that you didn't want to learn new things.
No. Right. Exactly. And it just led me on a journey that eventually got me to the place of, okay, I'm tired of pretending to be a therapist.
Yeah.
I'm tired of pretending to be, and
because you're so much more than that.
So much more, Kirk. So much more. But I also have deep integrity.
Right.
And so when I said I was going to do this as a therapist, I'm going to follow the rules that are not harmful while doing it. Right. The ones that are harmful, I'm not going to participate.
Yeah.
And I will feel absolutely no shame about that.
Yeah.
And so, I just got to a point where I said, it didn't, in the beginning, it didn't feel like it cost me anything to be a therapist. I often said people found me because I was a therapist. Now, they didn't stay with me because I was a therapist. They stayed with me because I'm me. But that it was fine that you can go therapists near me, and at some point you would populate. But when I realized that I was grateful for the time that I spent doing the work that I had done. I was grateful for this iteration of my purpose being fulfilled through mental health. I was a trainer. I've influenced so many lives, and I'm grateful for it. And now I realized that I was no longer willing to shrink to fit in a box
Yeah.
that never could contain me.
Yeah.
And that looked like me making a decision pretty early in the year last year that I was not going to renew my license. And in actuality, my license won't I'm still technically on the board as a licensed therapist
Yeah.
until February 8th, but I wasn't going to renew. And then that progressed to me. I'm making this decision and really sitting with my own integrity and saying, I've never been one to abandon.
Right.
And so every job that I had that I've left, I've given more than required notice because my leaving was going to be inevitable.
Yeah.
But I cared about the people
Right.
where I was doing my life. So
Right.
this was the same. So I kind of said, I'm giving the world a 6-month notice.
Yeah.
If there's anything left, if you want to come and sit with me in this container, you got 6 months.
Yeah.
I'm here, but I'm telling y'all, at the end of this time, I will no longer be able to give you what I have given you.
Yeah.
I will move into my full evolution. Whatever I could give you as a caterpillar, come get it. Because
Yeah.
the next time you see me, I'm going to be a butterfly and I literally will not be able to swarm around with you.
And I'm really
And
curious
so,
what
yeah.
that butterfly experience is compared to what you did before. So how is it different?
Yeah. So it's such a beautiful question. And it was a question that I could answer with so much certainty about 4 weeks ago. And now I go, Kirk, I have no idea. Hey, I should have asked this before. Who's our talk? Well, you invited me to be me. So I'm gonna be me. Kirk,
Yeah.
I cuss a lot.
That's okay.
Is that okay? All
Yeah.
right. I
We're
want to
fully
be respectful
deconstructed. So if
here,
anybody's
but
watching this that isn't aware that I also probably say bad words sometimes, and I don't believe that you're going to get smit for doing so, I think they're probably behind, so they need to catch up.
they're behind. Hey, go do some other stuff. You got to catch up with Kirk. So my thing is, I'm a linguist in my heart, and
Okay.
I just want access to the most accurate words. And
Yeah.
sometimes, and I say this to my children. We use the most accurate language that we can get to for how we express ourselves. Sometimes only a fuck will do. But when
Right.
it does not, if it is not the most accurate representation of what you're communicating,
Right.
find another word.
If it's
I don't
lazy.
want words
Right.
off limits to
Right.
them, but I also want them to know that because I have a child who, oh my God, she's the most beautiful mirror of me. I get to see what I could have been like when I was her age had my life had I had the safety
Yeah.
that I've created for her.
Right.
And it's so beautiful. I trust her language. I trust every word that comes out of her mouth that she's representing her experience. So and I feel so free being able to be like, I
Well,
don't
so
know. I thought I
that's
knew.
the difference. That's the difference, right? Is that you don't feel contained. Is that
Yeah.
you don't have to be able to tell the difference out here for us.
Yeah.
You know what it is here. I would think
That's
that it's
good.
what if you were to like, can you give a one word that defines what you are in that space now? As kinetic surrender is the name of the thing that you're
Yeah.
doing. My gut is telling me right now, healer. Is that enough?
No.
Yeah, there's not one
No.
word that can do it, is it?
Well, it's not, but I'll give you the words that are
Yeah,
there. How it's integrated, that's the part that's
Yeah.
beautifully unknown. But
Yeah.
there's priestess,
okay,
there's pastor,
yeah,
there's prophet.
yeah. Very religious connotation to those words, but I'm guessing
Yeah.
in a very broadly spiritual sense.
Well, both and.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
so amazing how my journey. So this, I'm returning to words that the energy and the context and the spirituality of them
Yeah.
have always been true, but I definitely put a lot of distance between myself and those words because the performers and the charlatans had gotten a hold of those words
Yeah.
and desecrated
Hmm.
the depth and sanctity
Yeah.
of them. And so, I have I've tantrumed my way to all of my callings,
Okay.
right? And what I can say is I'm learning now that one of the differences is before I just talked
Mm.
and I felt like the person who could just walk around with good seed and throw it out and it would land on whatever ground.
Yeah.
And what I'm called into now is I need to create some structural truths
Okay.
because you are helping me so much because you about to talk me through this thing about what's different and I
Yeah.
appreciate that about you. Is
I love a
like
good
one of my
theme and
deep
concept,
loves.
right? I love to
Yeah,
conceptualize. Yeah.
yes, conceptualization. A deep love and friend of mine, he said, "You gotta stop one-on-oneing us to death.
Mm.
Everything you say needs to be in front of a group." And it was right because what started to happen is I started to flood people. I started to drown people. And because I'm becoming more and more of me, unfiltered, I have
Yeah.
always been a fire hydrant, but I've been performing water fountain.
Yeah.
So what labors of love was for me, what being a therapist and in the mental health world
Hmm.
has meant was me doing all the work to hold back my intensity so
Yeah.
that people could drink from a gentle stream
Right. Yes.
without hurting people. And it was so much labor. It was beautiful labor. It was a labor of love.
Yeah. Or just even
But
overwhelming them, not even hurting them, right? Just giving them too much that they can't quite,
that
they don't know what
they
to do
don't know
with
what to do
it.
with it.
Right.
So then they do nothing.
Right.
And so that titration, that care, that
Yeah.
laboring, it was what I did. I loved it. And I'm tired.
Right. Well,
Whoo,
I
I'm
think you and I are
tired.
very similar in many, many ways, which some people would never ever guess,
I
uh,
know.
which is my favorite thing. But like, I even wore a wrestling shirt just for you today. But I think that the thing that separates you and I, maybe from other therapists that we know and love, in fact, one I share a space with, uh, is that we're loud on purpose
On purpose, Kirk.
and unashamedly and unabashedly so. I was talking to somebody yesterday about a previous job where I was basically told by coworkers that I needed to learn how to fly under the radar, which is why I don't work there anymore. 'Cause I don't do that.
How can you? I've been thinking about you so much through this
Yeah.
transition because I've used you as a human that I have access to and our relationship multiple times to help me get over like a thought hump or an
Mm,
emotional hump.
mm,
And I now in surrender, kinetic surrender, surrender while moving.
yeah.
I have surrendered. So for me, freedom is choice. When we know that we are always at every moment you're at choice, that is freedom.
Right.
Now, there are consequences that come with all the choices. And when we're fighting systems, what are we fighting? Restriction of choice, the elimination of choice, taking away our freedom. So I began to think of
Hmm.
so I started the process by going, okay, linguistically and energetically, my step is to remove have tos and can'ts.
Okay.
Like they literally do not exist. So instead of saying, I have to go pick up my son, no, I'm going.
Hmm.
I'm going. Or if it's, there is no, I can't. There is not an I can't. There is I'm choosing not to because.
Or right now.
Like right now. And so I began to do that process and I began to be free. There was nothing I had to do. That's contrary to how I lived 43 years of my life. Deconstruction is messy work.
Yeah. It's hard work.
It's hard. It's labor. It's a lot.
And we're talking about deconstructing, not people use that around faith. We're talking about just personally, like the work that people come to do in therapy is deconstructive, right? And the thing about deconstruction that matters is that we don't stop with the teardown.
And how you don't have to tear from the bottom. Like so many people are afraid of deconstruction because their perception is that we're going to start from the bottom, wipe their legs out from under them. And then they're no. But why it's hard work is I had to maintain so much of my structure while looking at parts that I was willing to examine in real time to be with what is. It is a tenet of kinetic surrender. Be with what is. It just is. And I began to learn that a value judgment beyond a value judgment at all is optional.
Yes. Awareness of values is not optional. Judging the values is optional. That's, I do a lot of work on values. You need to know what they are. You do not need to judge them.
It is. So I began to apprentice myself to isness. And in part of this, it is, I know that for every material, physical experience I have, there is a spiritual equivalent. So if I am apprenticing myself to something deeply, spiritually, energetically, that I don't have a physical material way to play out, I'm not gonna say it don't work, but baby, so when people like the rapid rate and acceleration of my life in many forms is usually what surprises people, but it's because I know that I can double my training, my effectiveness by like, how do I tangibly practice this? So for the summer, that was floating on water. I would go to the pool and I would lay on top of the water. Now, the pool we have access to is a community pool. However, I'm free. And that also means when people work in a job, I can be in the pool when ain't nobody in the pool because I'm free. And many people do not have the freedom to do with their time what they choose. So I started there, but it was calm. It was serene. It was beautiful.
What I'm hearing is that the contradictions are beautiful, and I think people don't always acknowledge is that you have to know what your values are. You're not judging them. You have to know where your irony lives within you and embrace it, not resist it. Right. So in my book, I talked about how I go to the theater a lot, to the fancy theater, but truly, I'm just as happy sitting home watching Roadhouse. Right. A guilty pleasure movie. And those things are both true, and they can exist within me. So you can be in motion and surrendering at the same time. You don't have to stop moving to surrender.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it, Kirk.
Yeah.
And I moved my way up to my final, I have the thing. How will I know when I'm there? Right. Yeah. So for me, I've come to realize that I've never been ambitious. And I say that and people go, what? See, no, don't be surprised. Let me tell you, ambition requires you to look at something and say you want it and then go get it. I've never done that.
Yeah.
I have just been where I am.
Yeah.
And what I represent is the opportunity, is you too.
Yeah. Don't mistake ambition for energetic.
Yes. Right. There's so much more freedom there. So I like to say, though, if this is a thing that I know if I'm working on surrender, like how will I know when I've gotten there. And then I don't then go try to get there.
Mm-hmm.
I just said it's the marker that says I've arrived. And
Right.
so I would go to Kings Island Water Park
Mm-hmm.
and I would get on, and it was so funny because I would call it the lazy river. First of all, they did not false advertise. It is called Splash River,
Let me tell you, I
right?
got a whole story about that. I'll tell you when we're done with this. But yes.
So I go, and essentially I took my time through multiple rounds. I would know when I had learned to surrender, when I could lay on that float with my eyes closed and my heartbeat regulated for 3 entire cycles. That meant there are people around me, there are kids
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. There are literally downpours of water
Mm-hmm.
that can waterboard you. How do I know?
Mm-hmm.
I was under there.
Mm-hmm.
But I did not break my surrender. It was a beautiful moment as it was literally waterboarding me.
Yeah.
I hear, I can do it, I can do it. And then I heard, but you could also sit up. And I
Yes.
said, and I
Yes.
sat up. I didn't break my surrender. My eyes remained closed. My heart rate remained regulated. And I said, my God, it was such a moment. I have been conditioned, intentionally so, as a fat Black woman to believe energetically I have to take the waterboard.
Mm-hmm.
I have to lay in
Yeah.
submission
Yeah.
to whatever comes, no matter how heavy and whose it is.
Yeah.
I'm the mammy. I'm the wet nurse. And then I sat up.
Yeah.
And so I lay back down and I hear this woman. She's near me. I clearly don't. My eyes are closed because if it looks like I'm sleeping, and I have an amazing partner who will love me the way I ask to be loved.
Yeah.
So I have pictures and videos of all of this because I want to see what it looks like.
Yeah.
So as I come out of that and I lay back down, this woman is like, "Oh my God, that one almost took y'all out. That she was under there for like 20 seconds." And so I'm aware that she's talking about me. And in my mind, I was like, but there's no way that was 20 seconds. No way. It wasn't that long.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, but my God, I am so conditioned to carry burden that I'll carry it for miles and miles and miles before I realize
You're
it's not
carrying
my
it.
weight. I've
Right.
lost about 40 pounds.
Good for you.
I'm dropping shit that ain't mine.
Yeah.
This is not.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just literally how much I was carrying. Also, it was a diabetes diagnosis
Mm-hmm. Yep.
that had me go through the shame
Yep. I
of
get it.
it,
Same.
to get angry about how really, no matter my intentions and my choices, there is my how my body expresses itself has been forever impacted by colonialism.
Yeah. No, I get it. I took my increased dose of Ozempic yesterday. Working on the same thing. Yeah, I think that one of the things I did a couple years ago as a threshold exercise that I didn't realize at the time was lean into understanding social justice, anti-racism, trying to embrace things I never had thought of because I had the privilege of never having to,
Yeah.
and trying to do that with humility and understanding what humility actually is culturally instead of just
Come on.
what you're told it is, right? And so that I actually wrote one of the books I wrote last year was a series of weekly blog posts about humility called Broken Stools. And the cover says the opposite of humility is not confidence, it's certainty.
Yeah. Ooh.
And so I'm with you on that. Lazy River, I'll tell you this real quick, and people that read my blog know because it was a big post, well, actually one of the foundational posts of kind of where I'm at now on my writing journey. But I also was in that Lazy River. And I could not figure out how to balance because when you're this big, you don't float on top. The water's not deep enough for me to float without my butt touching the bottom if I'm in the tube a certain way. So I ended up flipping backwards, which was funny. And I looked around, and then I realized when I looked around that my glasses had been on, and now they were not. And now they were somewhere in the river. and I could not see to find them. And so I'm walking, looking, and my friend is with me. She's looking, and I've got the lifeguards all looking, and can't find them. I get to the end, and I go to guest relations to file a lost and found report, thinking, how am I going to drive home? I can't see. How am I going? Do I have enough money to buy new glasses right now? All these things. And then I turned around and I walked back to meet my friend, trying to figure out where she is, trying to squint. And here she comes, holding them up. They found them. Later on, I saw one of the lifeguards, and she said, "Hey, you found your glasses." I said, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much." She said, "Well, I saw them floating by, and I grabbed them real quick and gave them to your friend." I said, "Well, what's your name?" So I can go tell people at Lost and Found that you're amazing. And she said, "Serenity." And I thought, well, there's the lazy river experience I was looking for. I wanted some serenity on the river. I didn't find it till after I lost my glasses. But yeah, yeah. I got some questions
Well,
about threshold stuff. But yeah, go ahead. What were we gonna say?
yeah. Well, I just I appreciate that because that it's a special place.
Yeah.
If people will let it be. Like there's such intention that goes into that. And just as you were saying that, it's special in the sense that I did that, but when I was getting ready to do this process, and that was my intention as I waded in to get in, and this was one of many times that I did it, but I believe it was like the first. I was so determined to go do this thing. So my kids are there, and I kind of am ahead of them intentionally, right? Let me go have this experience.
Yeah.
They're further back, but of course they intentionally come to catch up to me. And as they're coming to catch up to me, I literally said, Spirit, I cannot have this experience and have to be a mom too.
Right.
So I try to settle back into this exercise, and all of a sudden, one of my twin girls, one of my twins says, "Oh my God, Sky, your nose is bleeding." And so I open my eyes, and it's not just a trickle. So she's like diligently trying to get this. And so we were right at a part where there were stairs. And I look and I said, "Go up those stairs, talk to that lifeguard." Now, I knew what I was doing. So I had brought my cell phone inside of my plastic pouch.
Yep.
I video chat my husband, and I said, "Can you see me? If you see me, look there is Sky, meet her there." Right. And so now my other daughter's with me, concerned, but I'm not aborting this. This is my intention. So we go around, and now I'm trying to go. My daughter, okay. And then the guy is like, "Okay, leave your tube and go." And I said, "We can't go back around." And he said, "Not right now. We're too full." I got off that floaty and I said, "Bullshit. I have been here when it is way more people." But you know what? I said, "Nope. You will not distract me." Fine. As I'm walking out, preparing to just walk, there wasn't even a line. I didn't have to go get in line.
Yeah.
Right. And so I said to my other daughter, "Are you going?" She said, "I'm going to go with Daddy and Scott." And I said, "Okay." I also was in an inner tube that was too big. First of all, that was the first mile. Kirk, I ain't never been in, I can't tell you, I have not had many experiences in life where anything has been too big for me. I am always too big for it.
Yeah.
And so that's important, because this narrative that I have been holding, the narrative I had surrendered to was, I'm too much, I'm too big. So I get out, she goes, I come back, and then I get in the same, what I thought was the same color inner tube, and it fit perfect. I went on to have my experience. I go around. Now I'm going to go a third. And I said, well, that's okay. I can hear his voice coming. I'm going to get out, and then I'll just come back on. And then by the time I prepare to open my eyes, getting close to it, I bump the same gentleman. And he said, "Are you staying on?" And I said, "I didn't think that was an option." And he said, "It is now." And he just pushed my float forward. And so what I realized is, I said, listen, my intention was set, and I'm that powerful. This is the experience I'm having.
Yeah.
So distractions will come.
Yeah.
My daughter's nose bleeding. Oh my God. Give me some years ago when I was still carrying perception as a guide. Oh, what kind of mother would they think I was if I don't stop I have to tend to my child? No, I apprentice my children to listen to my voice and to use their intuition. So when I say, you got the intuition to stop the blood, I'm telling you where to go, and I'm sending backup. See, I prepared and equipped myself.
Right.
And then I needed to get out. I wasn't in the right size.
Yeah.
I I would have done the whole
Yeah.
thing uncomfortable and I would have blamed myself. And
Right.
so what I learned is in surrender, no, when I am in surrender, everything that happens is in alignment.
Yeah.
So I do not have to figure anything out. I don't have to make
Yeah.
anything work.
Yeah.
I just trust that when I'm in my nature, when I'm abiding in my nature, which I have said is the will of God, for when I do what I don't know I shouldn't do or don't do what I know to, that's when I sin.
Yeah. So speaking of
So
fit,
yeah.
yeah. What do you love that doesn't fit with the rest of your public persona? What do people look at you and say, "Oh, I'm sure this is," they assume something about you or that, they're wrong about?
Yes. So the natural one that I have to talk about because it's you especially
Yeah.
is I don't think being a pretty significant WWE fan fits the
Yeah.
persona that people think of me.
Right.
But it's so interesting because I'm like, but if you actually pay attention to me, it wouldn't be surprising.
Right.
It's when you pay attention to the narrative you assign to me that that it doesn't fit.
I think you would be a phenomenal in-ring or manager or something. You would fit right into that world in a very unique way, similar to how I did. Right. I mean,
Yes.
I can be a therapist and be kind and empathetic during the hours that need to require that, and then I can be a real jerk
Listen,
when the story
the
calls
fact
for
that
it.
you're saying that's so aligned. Let me tell you why that's so aligned. It's so aligned because I went back to this. I had a Akashic Records reading, and the Akashic Records are said to be this spiritual library of all thoughts, deeds, words that have been kept throughout time. And there are certain people who can access them. You can learn to access them yourself. I don't need to learn nothing I don't already know. I'm living on my knowing. But if someone has access to something in spirit and I feel driven that way, I will. And one of the things that was said during that, which again is not here's the business plan, go do it, but here is why you are feeling that thing, because in your knowing, you know. And part of that is that I can do anything I want. I'm free. Who do I want to work with? I had been working with people based on who needs help. And I don't begrudge that I did that for a long time. But
Right.
guess what? Every damn body need help. So I'm like, what do I want to do? And I named the WWE as someone I want to work with. But I also had not done a single ounce, a single second of conceptualizing it.
Yeah.
I just trust my knowing. So when you said that, I'm like, okay, Kirk, but why it's even funnier and not funny. I got to stop doing that. When people are like, it's so weird that happened. It's so funny. It's not. It's so aligned. Earlier today, I was looking at pictures. I have hundreds of thousands of pictures, and I mean of my life.
Yeah.
I want to go back and see the moments. And so I'm looking at pictures of my friend Sonia and I. And we're sitting at this table and it's this progression of things. And I just, today is Saturday of recording. And yesterday I was watching SmackDown, right? Today is, a big event. And Paul Heyman, I love Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman is one of the most spectacular storytellers.
Yes.
Like Jay always says, my husband, he always says, I just want Paul Heyman to announce me in a grocery store.
Right.
Or I want him to deliver my eulogy.
Yes.
And I'm looking at these pictures because we were watching their show, the behind the scenes show, Uncut or something like that.
Unscripted, maybe something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And Paul Heyman is in the back. And I said, that is just Paul Heyman. But I'm going through these pictures and I make a face, this little side eye to someone. And it looks so Paul Heyman-ish. I will have to send you the picture, Kirk.
Yeah, please do.
And I send it to Jay. And I said, oh my God, I look Paul Heyman-ish, right? And so then I sent him another picture. And I said, and here too. And he said, yep. And Sonia is your client that you're gonna who you're gonna turn your back on after you ride this 2 to 3 year high. Yeah, right. And then there's another picture where I'm like, and I'm explaining that to her. And then there's a picture of her going like, and I'm like, she likes the idea. So the fact that I've even energetically today, that's part of surrender, which is why I am having so much fun.
Yeah.
My husband has a saying.
What's he say?
Everything is wrestling.
Well, I think that's not wrong. I think that you can also, when you've been in that world too long, believe everything is a work. Everything is not real, and that can be dangerous to make you kind of paranoid. But everything definitely has a parallel to it. You can definitely find truth
Yeah.
because it is just like theater. I always say it's athletic redneck improv theater is how I would describe what we the style that we did, at least, because it was more 80s Memphis, kind of good guy bad guy stuff mostly. That's what I'm drawn to, and I think there's a lot of parallels on the storytelling and character work and everything kind of does relate. I love that you said that you decided you didn't want to just work with people because they needed help.
Yeah.
I also have decided that people now need to read my website and tell me why me, not just because I take their insurance. I'm at a place
That's
in my
it.
career where I want to make sure that we're going to be aligned in what we're doing together. Because if you read that I went to Bible college and just make assumptions about what that means, and you come in and you have a very different value system than I do, we're not going to get to work done that needs to be done. As we can do
Yeah.
it, but not nearly as effectively as if we're on the same page. And we don't have to agree about every tiny detail about politics or things like that, but we need to be aware that I'm not what you might assume I am based on my picture or my resume.
And I believe what you're describing is both self care, and community care.
Yeah. No, I had a
Yeah.
near miss. I had a guy approach me, and I said, Did you read everything on my site?" "Oh yeah, I think it'll be great." Scheduled, immediately canceled. Sent me a nasty email about how dare I be a God hater, and he hoped I found. He was just making more assumptions based around the topic of my first book, but it was like a good thing we figured it out before you showed up at my office, right? I mean, yeah,
You know, I in surrender, it's alignment. So
yeah,
much is alignment. And
yeah,
what I realized is how I like that word was not an embodied word for me, but I did have a cognitive understanding. And
right.
because it wasn't embodied, what I thought it meant was there were the image that's coming to me is like old school kind of Atari games,
Yep.
where you gotta
Space
shoot
Invaders.
upward. Yeah, Space Invader kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I viewed alignment as Space Invaders.
Oh,
There's something over there, and that's for me. So let me get over here so I can get it. But the
you
next
had
thing for me
to
is
align
there.
with the thing.
Yes. So it felt like, oh, the what a blessing to know what's for me. And then I'm doing all this work. I'm labor. I'm all, I have a business mentor. Oh my God, I love him. And every time I thought I was narrowing down, he would go, "You added something else. Like I'd say, I'm tired of being a 6 lane highway. I'm going to shrink it down." And he'd be like,
Yeah, that's not who you are.
you know, and
I do. I
so,
don't know if you know. I started a travel agency at the end of the year last year because I've always wanted to, and why not?
yes,
Right? I don't know if you know my
yes,
my book Soul Audit, the third book that I wrote, the one that came out after we had our book
no.
release party, is all about alignment. It's the whole book is on the topic of soul alignment. So of course we're on the
Wow.
same page about that
Of
because we always
course.
are, even though
We
we don't see each other for
are.
months at a time. Yeah. What do you think in this transition and this threshold? What's the scariest part of it? What are you afraid of? Is there anything that makes you nervous? Is there anything you're afraid of?
Yeah. I really appreciate the opportunity to sit and be with that question. I have the instinctual answer that arose first, and that arose before you even finished the question. So that's for me. That was that's like impulse, right? Because working to work with my nervous system, we're solid. We don't gotta jump. Like we're safe enough
Yeah.
to wait for a second signal. And that's a blessed assurance that so many people don't have,
Yep.
right? The systems and the way that the world that we live in is not giving people the opportunity. The thing about me, I had someone who knew me very well tell me years ago that I was a bully. And I was initially very, very offended.
Yeah.
I'm the good girl. I'm the hero victim. Excuse me? Oh my God, he was right. I am a bully. And I did this thing where I realized when I first got into mental health, way before I went on to become a therapist, I was in the mental health field for a while. I learned I had access to cognitive behavioral therapy and thinking errors. And there was the thinking error called victim stance. And I'm working with adolescent sex offenders in a residential program at this point. And I remember reading that definition of victim stance and almost gagging, going, ooh, that's me. Ooh, I don't like that. So from 2007 on, I made a commitment to myself. I was not going to be a victim. And that's beautiful because I left an entire lifetime behind. I walked out of a 12-year relationship on Christmas Eve,
Wow.
4 days before my 30th birthday, and restarted my life. So I know that when I decided 4 years before that I was no longer a victim and I began to stand more in my personhood, that's how I was able to do that. But what I realized in the last year is, wow, that is phenomenal work. What I hadn't realized that I hadn't done is I still viewed all of my narrative, my memories, my story of my life through the lens
Yeah.
of hero victim. Shanda was the good girl. Shanda did everything right. Shanda was the one who was going to raise her family out into another whatever, And so I performed that role very, very well. What do you need to do? Be good academically? Sure. Be charismatic? Got it. You know what I mean? Make attractive a body people try to tell you will never be. I'll do that too. I mean, my gosh, right?
Sure.
And
You're
so
going to align to them.
yes. And so I realized within the last year, no. I got to take those filters off. If I'm not a hero, so I don't always have to save the day.
Yep.
I don't have to do all these things. If I'm not a victim, if nothing was forced upon me, how would I understand the story of myself if I realize that kinetic surrender is not new? That I am kinetic surrender. That if I go back and say, what if my life has been surrendered this whole time? How would my story be different? One, Kirk, it's a much better story.
Yeah.
I'm a mess.
Do you
I'm a
find
whole
too,
ass mess.
given that we're both so loud and so strong and so forward and so out there, is it hard not to see yourself as the main character in most of the story? Do you struggle with that? I struggle with that. I oftentimes find myself having to remind myself, this isn't my story. This is I'm a character, but not the main character. That's something I work on all the time.
And it showed up in a couple of ways for me. For me, it goes back to kind of how I'm, essentially trying to express through this evolution, how I've been able to be with what is. And some of that is the epigenetic ways of being that are manifesting. And because I'm committed to doing the work and I can get through and integrate quickly, I'm allowing a lot of it to come through and pass through. It comes down to me being like, if I am the main character, and sometimes it's not main character. Actually, I'm always never the main character, but I am always the supporting character.
Interesting. And you're always the one who's supposed to fix it.
Yes. And then they get the glory.
You're the wind beneath their wings.
I mean, oh, absolutely. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It is, I will be first named in all the acceptance speeches.
Yeah.
But I will be sitting my ass in the crowd like everybody else, looking at someone who is literally saying, I could not have done it without her.
Well, and I don't see you that way. I see you as the person who's going to go up and get the award and should. So I think that's also about how we perceive ourselves, right? And how we believe that what we deserve or what we should or what we can achieve. And that speaks to the lack of the ambition thing, right? You're not trying to get the award. It just happens. and it will continue and should, because you're very deserving of that. And you do impact people every day, even when you don't realize it, just because your energy is so big and loving and welcoming. You go to the grocery, people notice us, right? We can't, and I often think they're staring at me because I'm big. Usually it's they're trying to figure out what's on my shirt. But also
Well,
it's the energy that we bring into the room is hard to
it is
ignore.
so true. Well, that's what I wanted to say. You came up another time this week. Maybe, yeah, this week. I live so much outside of time. Different topic, but like
Yeah.
time is needed for people who need time. But sometimes it feels like in this last week, I wore this outfit that felt very like I know when like some I'm gonna have some kind of great experience because all of a sudden spirit cares what I'm wearing.
Okay.
And I'm
All
like,
right.
okay, I have these leggings on, and they're my god sister who part she is walking art. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Like she's always
Sure.
walking art.
She's a canvas.
And
Yeah.
so she gifted me these 3 pairs of leggings that truthfully I would have never bought for myself,
Yeah.
especially back then. But they're colorful, blah, 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 blah. And I have this thing, right? So I'm in the grocery store. I don't even go to grocery stores that much, but I've been picking back up because I love to see humans in spaces of survival.
Yeah.
In just this is where a lot of my learning, assessing, evaluating happens. And so multiple people commented on these pants. Like go past and come back to say something. This one woman walked past me and she was like, "Your pants are everything." And I said, "Oh," and it started because there is a chef. I don't know his name, but he's local to the Cincinnati Northern Kentucky area. He's been on Guys Grocery Games. He's a black chef. I want to shout him out. I don't know his name, but don't be offended. I don't know most people's names. He has blue tips to the top of his hair,
Oh,
but dope. He was
okay.
in Costco. Right?
Oh,
I think we're in
okay.
Costco. So everybody's preparing for the storm. He's in Costco. And I see him. So Jay's coming towards me and I kind of nod and I'm like, oh, it's Chef. And so I say to Jay, right? I'm like, I wonder would it be valuable for him to hear like, hey chef, but I mean, we trying to prepare for the storm. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I realized that I couldn't have made a wrong choice, but these are the questions I ask.
Yeah.
And so what I committed to is if I see him again, I'll just say, hi chef.
You think it's Jeffrey Harris?
But
You think that's
anyway,
his name?
possibly. Yes.
Nolita Kitchen over the Rhine, maybe? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. No, I'm not
No,
sure.
I just
feel
Googled it,
like
but who knows? Anyway,
yes. Thank you.
if that's you, Jeffrey, we're glad we figured it out. If it's not, we're really sorry.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes. It's so dope. But I thought this thought and I said, does someone with their hair like that want to go unnoticed?
yeah.
And I began to think about how wild the colors. I have had pink and purple and I
Yeah.
mean my hair. And then
Yeah.
I'm looking at these pants and then
Yeah.
I said, Kirk can't go unnoticed.
I have
And
been
neither
writing a lot
can
about
I.
the contradiction of shrinking and the desire to be seen. I've been writing about that a lot. And that
Thank
the
you
two
for
things
writing
live
about
within
it.
me.
And and you've said it, I've written it and said it. It is so wild to simultaneously feel like not enough and too much,
Yes.
all within the same breath.
Yes.
So we are living contradictions.
Yeah.
We talked about that. And for me, I believe that to be in my nature, I took myself on an exercise across 8 domains of really sitting with what is my nature, how does it manifest, and what do I need to support and protect it. And I'm big, I'm loud, and how I've had to internalize that and what that has meant for me being raised fearless. You asked what I fear.
Yeah.
The tangent feels necessary, but I always come back. I don't fear anything.
Good.
Now, this feels to me what when I was churched would feel like an embodiment of God did not give us the spirit of fear, but of power, something and of a sound mind. But it feels like I don't mean that I'm not ever afraid.
Yeah.
That cortisol doesn't impact my body and other chemicals the way it does any other human vessel.
Sure.
But what I am saying is what I was apprenticing myself to in that river over the summer was the physical act of knowing it's a circle. Like, if I go to the worst case scenario of what will happen to me, I get bumped off my float. It's 3 feet. Stand up. I can swim. I can hold my. I just began to realize that fear, so much fear is manufactured,
Yeah.
and our nervous systems respond as it should. It means your nervous system is working, but without a healthy reciprocal relationship with your nervous system, only the nervous system can send signals to you. So then you are in a perpetual state of anxiety, depression, in this loop, because only the nervous system is sending it, and the nervous system is working. So it's responding to stimuli. We get to do the work of practicing and apprenticing ourselves to slow down the data. How do I send messages back to say you weren't wrong, but this is not a threat?
Yeah.
You weren't wrong, but I can handle this level of threat.
Yeah.
You were right. But we send so much data that we learn to have this way of being that we send information back and forth. And so in that space, I'm excited. I'm like, yeah, you got to get through the gunk first, but like, y'all, this is so fun.
I think that alignment reduces the potential for fear. When you come into alignment and you know who you are and you know what's real and what you value and what's true, and you live in accordance with that, there's very little that can make you nervous or scared. There are things that pop up. Anxiety, I don't think is actually a bad thing. It makes me on time conscientious and thoughtful, but it doesn't run my life. And that is not the same as fear. Yeah.
Yes.
So as you become more aligned, as you figure out who you are and are living that truth, fear isn't isn't even a thought.
No, it's not. But you learn to reassign the activation. So now if it's not fear, what is it? And for me, it's whatever it is, right? So I'm so where I am now in being able to deconstruct my relationship with anger and rage, how I'm socialized as a woman, right? But I'm then the angry Black woman, walking contradictions my entire life. So as I went to Mexico with a dear friend of both of ours, Sharon. Man, that was a portal. Like I walked into some things. My life has never been the same. And one of the things that happened on that trip was I realized there were two parts of me that my best conceptualization is somewhere in my adolescence. There was a town hall meeting inside. And based on what I was living at the time, there was an agreement. Rage and sexuality. Yes, y'all are so powerful, but we are not. Okay, can we all agree that y'all need to go into this room? It's not a cage. It's not a cage. We're not locking you up. You can decorate as you want, but can you just go in there and we'll let you know when it's safe. We'll let you know when it's safe.
Okay.
For others and for us. Like it was benevolent, and they said, "You're right. You're right." And I opened those doors, both of those doors in Mexico, in an ancient Mayan temple. I got 1,500 pictures to document it because Sharon will love me the way I asked to be loved. And so now they spent about a year just being out. They both communicated to me very precisely. Neither one of us have any intention of being the leader, but we do want to have input. And we only speak up when necessary.
Yeah.
You don't have to come find us. We will come find you. Yeah. So for a year, I just had to allow myself to recalibrate and configure with two new parts of myself that are strong and powerful, but have just no practice being in the real world.
Yeah.
Right. And so for me, I feel like part of the alignment in its integration.
Yeah.
It's the ability for all of the parts of me,
Right.
the art, all the things, and how the only one of the differences, because that's still a thread, right? Is they don't all need a separate service.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
integrated my life into one calendar. My life ran in 5 calendars. It was the only
Yeah.
way it could work.
Yep.
And now I said one Shanda, one calendar. And that's metaphorical. The other thing, the best example I've been able to come up with is I'm Professor Hulk.
Mm.
First time I saw Professor Hulk in Endgame, because love the movies, they're very well done, but I'm not gonna read a comic book. I don't have relationships with the characters. And
Right.
it's so beautiful that I can watch all of the major, especially Avenger movies
Okay.
and Black Panther. I can watch them I can watch them forever, because it's like every time I see them, it's almost like I'm seeing it for the first time.
Yeah.
I never run ahead of the plot. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when I saw Professor Hulk in Endgame,
Never seen
I
it.
had oh, okay. Well, I just had visceral response,
Yeah.
because the Hulk always, even back to the one that Edward Norton did, and people are like, it was terrible. And I'm like, I guess I was watching for a different thing. It was something about when Edward Norton was actively trying to regulate so that he did not become
Yeah.
the Hulk. That was my first time
Yeah.
seeing a visual
Got it.
representation of what I've lived my whole life, which feels emotional in this moment.
Yeah. Yeah. The Incredible Hulk is quite a character when you think about rage
Yeah.
and identity and hiding. There's a lot to unpack there. But we're almost out of time. So I have a signature
Oh,
question. We've already talked. We've been 55 minutes. We've been going, and you already answered it probably a bunch. But in what areas of your life are you still becoming as you're walking across this threshold into what it sounds like is still a vague unknown, even though you feel it and have an instinct for it? We haven't defined it. What are you still becoming, or what areas of your life are still becoming?
yeah. Pastorship.
Okay.
I knew that I was called to pastor when I was an undergrad. But I did to some degree think that that was connected to my ex-husband. So when I left that
Oh,
life, I just didn't really, but also I ain't want it.
sure.
Again, I
Yeah.
had seen,
Yeah. Do you know
what?
what Kirk means in Dutch or Welsh?
No. What does
It
it
means
mean?
church. What's my last name? Shepherd
Shepherd.
of the church.
Yes.
Right. And so I've had to also wrestle with this destiny
Yeah.
identity that is
Yes.
contradictory in many ways to the expectations that we hold that I grew up with about what that means to pastor a church. But I
Yes.
feel like I do that in a very unconventional way through this podcast and
Yes.
through my work every day and other ways.
All of it. And for me, I said, Kirk, I had the best gig ever. I was influential without responsibility, and I loved it. I'm still in mourning. I'm not gonna lie, I'm still in mourning.
I mean,
But
as a
what I
therapist,
could
that was the case. That was how you kind of thought about that. Is that what you
about
mean?
all of it, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I'm no longer running from it. I am called to pastor. But what I love about spirit is I've never been two handed pushed into anything. I can't be wrong off time. I'm gonna take my soul knew me. I'm gonna take my time. But
Yeah.
one of the things that's always gonna be true is I'm gonna do it my way.
Yeah.
And I got to this point as I moved about a month ago, almost a month ago, I had my 44th birthday. I asked people, you were one of them.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
If I woke up and I had amnesia and I didn't know who I was, what would you tell me to tell me who I was? What impact have I had on you? What impact have I had on the world? I know I'm going to need that as I step into a word that I feel like I have to carry in some form because I need to be responsible for what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I don't need to be covert anymore. But when I saw the Professor Hulk, It was a visual representation that I don't have to straddle. I don't have to be two separate entities anymore. You're going to get my rage, but you're also going to get my care. You're going to get my intellect and you're going to get my hugs, but you're also going to get you're gonna get me. And now my freedom is that instead of becoming everything that a person needs of me in a moment, I get
Yeah.
to say I is. And if
Yeah.
is in this moment is what you need, here are the pathways to me. And when I inevitably morph into something else because I tried to shed shape shifting, I thought it was a cursed way that I had learned to become. No, girl, I had a concentration in theater in undergrad.
Yeah.
I get to shift into what I want now, not what someone else needs.
Yeah.
And for me, that's freedom.
Yeah.
And I would say that would be the difference.
I love that. Thank you so much for doing this. We could keep
thank
going for
you.
another hour or two. I'm sure we've got so many thoughts and opinions and ideas, and so we could bounce back and forth between the two. And maybe we'll, I got 11 more of these to record for the year, and so far I only have one other person lined up. So maybe we'll have you back. We'll have a part two, and maybe then you'll know more of what you're doing. For now, though, if people do want to reach out and experience, you've got a couple things that I know that are on your website. You've got the what do you call it? I can look at it right here, Soul Art, and then you've got Journey You Home. Really briefly, tell us what those two things are and how people can access you.
Yeah, through kineticsurrender.com. If you want to work with me one-on-one, let's just put it that way. We do it how we do it, but if journeying to more freedom, go that route. I'm also transmit so much of my energy, my love, and my healing through my art, soul art.
Yeah.
And so you can also access my gallery of something you want, or you can book a session and I'll create art specifically for you.
Love that. Yeah, I can't imagine why anyone would not want time in your presence to be challenged, to learn from you, with you, and about you. So we've done that today, and maybe we'll do it again soon. Thank you so much.
Thank
We'll
you
see
so
you on the other side of the threshold.
This is 50, brought to you by Story and Soul, is a podcast created for your listening enjoyment and educational purposes only. The content provided by Kirk Sheppard and his guests should not be thought of as a replacement for therapy or clinical advice. For more information about Kirk Sheppard, go to kirksheppard.com.
If you are in need of a therapist, go to psychologytoday.com, ask your primary care provider for a referral, or call your health insurance plan.
If you enjoyed this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, and tell your friends.